Yeah. You put the hole in the spider. Gonna do some sport. What do we got here? Although turtles only have 2 fingers and opposable thumb, they express emotion or reaction just like any human hand. It's goddamn genius. Here when you like to do some sport, stop messing around and get serious now. Oh, no, 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 no. Let's see here. The right foot showcasing the feet. We see example of the way that their feet grip onto the ground with only two big toes. It's freaking brilliant. It's brilliant. Oh, whoops. Okay. Forgot about the stream. I'm on TV. You're here and you like to do some sport. Yeah. Oh. How do I turn this thing on? Boosh. Yo. Greetings, programs. Hanker and Fernail here, your old buddy. Welcome back to Runehammer, guys. It's Drunks and Dragons. Everything you see here. Look at all this splendor. Books on the shelf, fresh white paint, stained glass logo to remind you where you at. You're in Runehammer headquarters. Welcome, y'all. Today is a momentous bobate. Today is a momentous bobate. No, a momentous day. They're clear. The first transport is away. Not the fish-shaped rebel transports from Hoth. No. No, what you're looking at today, if you are following the link in the description of this video, you are over on runehammer.online checking out the new Crown and Skull release page with the notification email list. You're going to want to sign up to that bad boy. You're going to want to download that free player's guide. It's the first 70 pages or so of the book, a little bit condensed here and there. There's some pieces that have been cut out to keep it real tight for this free release, but it's a free PDF. Basically, the idea is to give you these core rules and give you some character creation tools so that if you are waiting and dying, like me, to play Crown and Skull full on, this little document is enough at least to get you started. It also includes a couple of example monsters. At the end of the PDF, there's a skeleton and then like a skeleton elite. And just seeing those two monsters, starting to get warmed up into these rules and how they work, you should be able to get a sort of a homebrew, hacked, dehydrated version of Crown and Skull going at your table. There's also a world map. It's sort of small and it's black and white, so it's not the big color poster one you guys are used to from me, but it's enough to at least get a sense for what's ahead. Now, before we get into what I really want to be here for, which is the Ask Me Anything in this stream this beautiful Friday. It's 372 degrees out there in cyberpunk Philadelphia. We are officially in the age of cyberpunk, my friends. We've got twisted, cartoony, reptilian politicians losing their damn minds. We've got AI getting crazy. We've got people zooming around on all kinds of strange-looking vehicles. We've got virtual reality, and we have freakish heat and smog. We are officially in cyberpunk. So, it's not really anything to panic about. Just ask yourself, how do I fit into the cyberpunk world? And I'll tell you how. We're hanging out on Friday afternoon talking about my newest release, Crown and Skull. If you haven't done already, go over to runehammer.online. Get on that site. Click the seven-eyed skull, the seven-eyed compass, as they say. Get in there. Sign up for the email list. The email list, and I know this is a little bit early, but there are more wheels turning here than y'all might realize. We have got so much momentum and work put into this. It is crazy. And don't worry about the augment arms. We're going to get there very soon. I'm already on that front. I'm 1% titanium. I can say they need to improve the technology, but we are getting there. Before we get into this too, I would like to send a massive shout out to two of my homies who I could not have done this without. And they are just YouTube channels. They aren't even people. They're YouTube channels. Go over and subscribe to Kane's Kiln and my man House DM. These guys are the biggity bomb. Not only are their channels like focused on creativity and on actual stuff for actual hobbyists instead of sort of like hot takes and drama news, but they are damn good at what they do. And they have been my clutch boys with this release. They've been helping me with so much of the stuff about how you're seeing Runehammer basically clean up its act. I'm talking about Runehammer as if it's something that isn't me, which it isn't anymore. That's what's so crazy. Runehammer is now a cloud of people. If you take a look in your free player's guide for Crown and Skull, zoom down to the last page, you will see the amazing group of creative and intelligent folks that have helped me bring this thing to life. And it is no small list. So to everybody in that special thanks section at the end, well, special thanks to you, I suppose. I'd have to send a hearty budmo to all of y'all. Yeah, so the idea today is to go download that PDF. It's the first 70 pages of a 350-page book, 100,000-word book. The thing is massive, and it definitely includes a lot of like maybe what some would call disruptive or sort of tradition-breaking elements. And I know that you only just showed up just now, and you're just now opening this PDF. You're barely scrolling, and I'm talking your ear off. So why not open this pit up with an Ask Me Anything rather than, you know, reading it first and sending me an email and stuff like that. But yo, let's just kick it off. Adam the DM says, I love that Blackmore map. The coastline is reminiscent of Blackmore. Now remember, 3 years ago, my group started in Blackmore. This is now a world that is barely recognizable beyond that coastline as the world we have created from the stem of Blackmore. And in the foreword of Crown and Skull, which isn't included in the player's guide, there is a massive shout out to Bronstein, Dave Arneson, all those creators from the early 70s who basically created not only this coastline, but some of these sort of creative roots. And in a way, I would say that it has now been, 50 years since that creation. And it's almost like the influence of something like Casablanca on our hobby, or on like movie making, if you see what I mean. Almost like the creative effect of something like Alien or Friday the 13th or Texas Chainsaw. They become so powerful as root concepts, they no longer are just what was created. They become a stem point or a sort of an origin point for things that are entirely new and entirely created on their own. And yes, the North Holds, which is this world that Crown and Skull occurs in, grows from that root. And is a coastline really something that's so important that it should be shouted out to a 50-year tradition? No, I think a coastline could be anything in an RPG world, but this is just what happened to us. Our group, the Dirty Jobs crew, started at that point 3 years ago, and we created Crown and Skull together at the table, including the rules core, including the world, a lot of the events you're going to find in the book. They were created by a group of players and myself as the GM. And that's one of the, I guess maybe a lot of RPG things are created that way. But for me, it's the first time I've really done it that way. And it has been a thrill. So I see questions coming in already. We got Sizik up in here. Will you be doing more session recaps? Absolutely. I've got one in the can right now. We had a session Monday night that blew my mind. The role playing. My guys just do combat all the time. They don't do role playing. What the hell? They befriended NPCs on Monday night. It was freaking bizarre. Point of what's on my mind lately, which is I keep talking about, which is just what happens at our table, not necessarily theory and opinion, just what happened at our table. Not necessarily what the best thing to do or the worst thing to do or some new idea for people to run with, but just what happened. I love reporting that stuff. So yes, is the short answer. Great Cthulhu. Yeah, so as you noticed in my little intro video for the GMs on the site over there, you do not get the GM's guide in the free release. It's not only is it kind of just like a very tasty morsel, it also really shows the deep inner workings of the system. And as someone who has to pay my electric bill with this book, I can't hand out. I would love to just hand the whole, because it's really is done. And now the weight that you're dealing with right now from this free player's guide onward, that is the weight of producing the books. And so I have to be controlled. Now, when the books do release, the pre-sale begins, you will be able to get a digital bundle, which will have the entire PDF, as well as some nice digital bits for your VTT, if that's what you're into. And every purchase of a physical book will, of course, come with the digital bundle. So we're going to get there sooner than you might think, but all of those wheels are turning. I'm working with the incomparable Regent Publishing to do these books. One of the biggest, most prestigious printing presses on the planet. Printing presses. I'm a little bit excited. Today is a big deal. It's like, it's kind of wild to just let this falcon that you've been training just fly off to the horizon because it's Friday afternoon. It's quite a rush, really. So much work has gone into this, as you guys all well know. So, Great Cthulhu, just hang in there with me. You're just going to have to wait. And if you want to get a sneak peek, you can always get on Discord, be an immortal on my Patreon, hit me up in private, and we can start to talk. Okay, yo, Kreba. What's up, Kreba? Thanks for releasing the player's guide. Running games. Yep. Will it be print? No. There will never be print on demand of anything that I do henceforth. Process that. Is that gnarly or what? A massive amount of work, thinking, and learning, more so learning than thinking, has gone into freeing myself from the sort of shackles of drive-through RPG. Print on demand has been great, but we have put in a great amount of thinking, consideration, as well as consulting with the incomparable Kelsey Dion from the Arcane Libraries, my little sister, and learning how to not be reliant on print on demand. And I'll tell you what, y'all, this shit ain't easy, because we're going to be printing our own books. We're going to be warehousing our own books. Now, a lot of creators out there that maybe are a little bit bigger in their sort of business efforts than little old me have already figured this stuff out. But for me, this is brand new, man. I'm getting crowned. I'm like tearing holes in my jeans doing this stuff. We're really on the edge of what we know and what we're capable of, learning how to break free from print on demand. So we're going to be going into the legit mode. So look for that. Oh man, Vorpal, thank you for that question. Is Crown and Skull anything like Index RPG? No. As a matter of fact, if a ton of you out there are fans of Runehammer because of Index Card RPG, Crown and Skull might blow your damn brain. It might make your brain explode outside the head. Crown and Skull is vastly different from Index Card RPG in almost every single way. I'm not sure how to, break that to you easily, but I would almost expect my readers to kind of be breaking into two sort of big groups. There's the Crown and Skull type groups, and there are the Index Card RPG group. Now, this isn't because I have any kind of bitterness or regret or whatever with Index Card RPG, but man, ICRPG been going like 7 years. It has been an absolute juggernaut, continues to be a juggernaut of sales in its fourth printing with Modifius. Even the collector's edition is in its second printing that's about to drop, 500 copies of that coveted and rare book. Like, these are massive accomplishments. Like, ICRPG is, a favorite of mine, absolutely. But Crown and Skull is a completely different direction. And that's the fun of it. So Cthulhu's back. After your journey with, hard suit, all that good stuff, have you peaked? Yep. I'm actually going to jump out this window right after this stream. That's it for me, guys. It's been a great run. You bunch of hoopy fruits. Just make sure you know where your towel is, and I'm going to jump out this window. There's no such thing as a peak until you go to Valhalla, my friend. Yeah, it has been 7 years. Isn't that crazy? I'm 6 copies into print on demand of ICRPG. Yeah. Man, if you want to talk about print on demand, ICRPG it has been a colossus on Drive-Thru RPG. I never would have thought that it could do what it continues to do. I don't know where all these people are coming from buying this dang thing, but Lord knows I am grateful. Lord knows I'm grateful. Yeah, let's see if CNS I don't know if it's a dethrone kind of vibe going on. But I do see Crown and Skull. One thing that a reader said, not me, is that ICRPG is so streamlined and so DIY that actually there's not a lot to talk about with it, because it kind of just says anything not written here, you got this, you can make it up. And it kind of leaves just this sort of creative open end. Crown and Skull is a much more locked in system where there are builds to create. There are ways to synthesize and comprehend the game in deeper and deeper levels within what's written, and discuss and explore and learn. ICRPG, you can really learn in about 20 minutes, half an hour, and you're ready to go. They're just like hobbits. All that you could know about them, you could learn in an afternoon, but they can still surprise you after decades, or something to that effect. Paraphrasing Gandalf is always a risky business. But Crown and Skull, I think, has a lot more to talk about over time. So I don't know if it's really a thing about dethroning. They're just different beasts. Do you expect attrition to be the hardest paradigm shift for new players? It's one of the biggest, yes. Also, not rolling attack rolls is, I don't think it's like a hard transition. Let's talk for a minute about the mental blockade that D&D 5th edition has put around us as our role-playing hobbyists. D&D 5th edition has become so brand and industry dominant. Anything that isn't that is like, well, wait a minute, I'm going to have to get used to this, or this, where's my attack roll? What's my proficiency? This isn't how things have always been. I know that Hasbro wants 5th edition D&D to dominate, but in dominating, informing our habits, it is blockading our minds from perfectly legitimate alternate systems. And that discomfort you feel when you go from one to the other is the leaving of the blockade. You are leaving the world of the Hunger Games, WotC D&D, out into the infinite landscape of everything else. And so is attrition a bit of a cold water dunk for your D&D 5th edition, like sort of diehard? Absolutely. But man, if you've learned anything at the Russian bath, it's that the cold dunk is the best part. So throw down. But yes, attrition. And I got to send a quick shout out to Dungeon Masterpiece. Me and him really, in the crucible of creative partnership, created the attrition system. And I couldn't have done it without him. And it's really something. Now, on the one hand, as you guys may be reading, you've got it on the armchair level, right? Just reading as a GM or a player who isn't at the table playing. But you will find there is a different sort of effect when you get it at the table. For one thing, death does feel sort of far away. And you're going to say, well, doesn't that make things easy? I actually think that using the threat of sudden death in role-playing is kind of a flimsy and false threat. The attrition system more so focuses on pain rather than death. So death will be a little bit further away a lot of times, but pain will be closer. Yo, Perkins, what's up? How do you characterize Crown and Skull at the table? It's very player focused. It puts a lot on the player and basically leaves the GM in a more esoteric mindset. The GM is really rolling a lot less. And if you play by the book, the GM is doing almost no preparation for these sessions. So the GM is more growing these improv muscles and these sort of instincts for taking roles as they are, trusting them and letting things unfold, rather than, to me, what is a little bit of a myth and a little bit of an unfair burden, which is that I'm expected to come up with all this brilliant stuff before the session and then adapt as things are foobarred and changed and gone off the rails. I think there is a great wealth of fun in store for everybody if the GM can really embrace this sort of free hex roll, dice to create unfolding mindset that Crown and Skull includes. But at the table right now, it's really also very, very quick. We blasted through 7 rounds of combat the other night in maybe, I don't know, faster than anything we've done. I can't tell you exactly how much time that was, but dang, we were sitting there going like, that was like 7 or 8 rounds that just like whipped through there. So of course I'm going to have positive views on this thing, but so far that's my impression. It is more crunchy, Josh. Yes. How many more pages of the Mora? Yes, one more. There will be more coming. Always more Mora coming. It's just I am so eyeballs deep in finishing Crown. Everything else has been put off for a little while. This PDF looks black and white, yes. And it is not old school in any way. In nothing am I doing do I call out to the so-called old school. I think that term is becoming sillier and sillier and more vaporous the more that it goes on. It's just what it is. Also, if you notice, there's not art breaking up the text. That is very untraditional. Art has always broken up the text, even in the oldest of RPG publications. I am presenting Crown and Skull much more like a sort of a book, a read, rather than something with diagrams and art breaking up the text. Also, things back in the so-called old school between 1970 and 1985 or so were vastly diverse in their style and content. And to say that anything is old school, to me, is a useless generalization that's generally just used to say something cool that I'm kind of into. Yes, I have nothing to do with the OSR, and I nothing to do with that. I personally don't think it means anything, but no shade on those who get excited by the use of that acronym. Rock on. It's just not part of my lexicon. Where do you want to take Runehammer next? To break time. To break time, Scott. I want to take Runehammer to break time. Crown and Skull is my hugest, most ambitious, most complex, most erudite effort of all time. You're not seeing it in the player's guide, but the full book includes short stories throughout. It includes more in-depth conceptualization than really anything I've ever done. And it's the gateway to this bigger writing project I'm going to be doing in 2024, where I'm moving into fiction and publishing fiction and cosmic horror, and also Crown and Skull Volume 2. And this has been a wild spring and summer, and just enjoying life a little bit in the second half of this year would be great. That's where I want to go next. Do a lot of drawing in the Mora and just play. Really got me with ICR PDF flip through discussion. Yeah, we'll be doing plenty of those. Be doing a lot of those with Crown. Let's see. Machu. Hey, what's up, man? And thanks for your support, by the way. Welcome to the Shield Wall. What would you suggest to GMs who want to play test with just the man? First of all, that is exactly what you should be doing. What I would recommend is go flip to the end with that skeleton and the elite skeleton. Set yourself up a little straw man player character, and just with your notebook by yourself, get into some of these mechanics that make this stuff work. Just be your skeleton and be your player. Try the phases. Try doing no attack rolls, just rolling damage right away. Try using tactic dice. Just get into it. Now, I know the player's guide doesn't really talk about tactic dice, but the skeleton and skeleton elite kind of give you all you need to infer how they work. And so the player's guide, I know it's limited, but this is just a free little taste. This is just to get you started. And if you really want to discuss how some things that aren't in depth in the player's guide are, get on the Discord, and we're always there together talking about this very thing. But get into it. Just dive in and start filling in the gaps. That's what GMs do. Oh, my bowl. No. My bowl is for my own private use. That is a sacred object that will not be used on YouTube. And good to hear, David. Statement. Pumped. Yeah, Kyle, thanks a lot. Next year is going to be great. I'm really going to pursue my dream of writing novels. And I know I've been saying that for years, but I am now closer than ever with 2 projects that are really cresting that halfway point, which, by the way, is the hardest part of any book the marathon of the middle, as writers call it. But I got a really good feeling. I feel like critical mass is being reached here. What percentage of Crown do you have yet to finalize? 0%. It is absolutely done. It has been proofread not only professionally, but by a group of almost 70 different people. It has been table tested by 5 different groups for the past 6 months. It is done. All we're doing is production now on the books. That's what you're waiting for. Will there be a crossover between Crown and Skull and the novels? Always and absolutely. There's even crossovers hidden in the book that lead to Alfheim, the world in Index Card RPG. So my universes always kind of hide inside of each other, and I'll always keep doing that. Yeah, Perkins, I love how we've seen a period of high artistic and cultural development in gaming. You know what? I think just the size of the role-playing hobby is just blooming so much that we're both seeing parts that don't interest me and a lot of parts that are really exciting to see. So it's just becoming larger and more diverse. Hey, yeah, good luck with your session. What is 7 eyes? What is with 7 eyes on the skull? It's fucking awesome. There has to be 7 eye sockets on the skull because it's Crown and Skull, because it's crazy. And when you get a little more into the book, you may discover what that refers to a little bit, the strangeness that's going on. So here we got Nope Can Wait. So can you tell us about your approach building a player-facing system? Yeah. Oh, that's great. Stoked. Thanks. Well, first of all, I knew that I didn't want my GM rolling attack rolls. I knew that I wanted my player rolling defense rolls. I knew that deep down. So when my monster attacks, my hero rolls defense. That is one of the most common exchanges between GM and player in Crown and Skull. I knew that unshakably in my heart and soul, mainly because of how fun it is at the table. And I knew I had to build around that. So I held that as sacrosanct and built from there. And remember, there are no stats in Crown and Skull. So there are no saving throws. There are only skills. And there are a small handful of skills which any savvy player will make sure they have, like evade. Not everything can be defended against. And when armor does you no good, you're going to need evade, but it's going to be reactive. So player facing is a nice code word that role players know. That means players make more rolls than the GM tends to. And as far as what I can tell you about my approach, I knew that the fun, the feel, and the speed of that monster attacking and the player making the defense roll was just bulletproof. So as long as you can hold that vibe, the table just keeps buzzing. And so that was kind of my guiding light. I hope that answers your question. Vorpal, doing all caps does not necessarily deliver your your statements with more veracity. just a side note. Mogilla Gorilla, with a transition to fiction, you'll be able to put out some more audio fiction. I think so. It's not necessarily my strength or my core focus. It's really fun to do, but always a fun idea to consider. Well done, my friend. Would you say Hank in the past, who was first? Yeah, I mean, I don't really think that way about past me or future me. I'm not really that kind of person. So I tend to live in a small multiple day space of thinking. The way that my life has gone, I've really learned to focus on the immediate present quite a bit. As a matter of fact, almost to a fault. I don't plan a lot of things, and I don't really look back that much. Hey, Tito J. Davis, I appreciate that a great deal. Thank you. And yeah, there you go, Bobby. Into the Odd and Cairn both are mentioned in the foreword of the completed book as tremendous inspirations. Cairn is absolutely brilliant, and it was actually a late night session of Cairn with me and Dungeon Masterpiece and many others, which led to the conversation that eventually became attrition. So a great creative debt is owed to Yokai Gal, to Into the Odd, and to Cairn. And hey, Jerry, what's up? As an aspiring writer, what's your process to get where you're at? Writing fiction stories and books. Well, first of all, just do it all the freaking time. Just do it. Make it part of your life. Give yourself a fun space where you like doing it, and make sure you like your tools that you use to write, be it a laptop or whatever. Those are the easy ones. The hard ones are, well, if there's a fourth easy one, read all the damn time, read a ton, and read the kind of stuff that you want to write, so that you can be reading and thinking to yourself, I can do better than this. When you think that, that's when you're going to be a writer. So, but there's really no easy path to doing a great job at it. Just do it and do it and do it some more. Find someone you can trust to bounce your writing off of. Begin to expose your writing a little more when you feel comfortable. Just do it and do it and do it some more. Put in the reps endlessly, and you'll get there. How does one get to your Discord? Carol Singleton. You got to jump on Patreon and sign up for $1. It's $1 a month to live on our Patreon. How much does a set of Crown and Skull cost? That will be released when the pre-sale begins. All that stuff has to be, a great deal of work is put into how to make sure that's the best value for both you guys and Runehammer. Kriba again. Did you consider micro audio stories? Sure. Again, audio isn't necessarily where I'm headed. I love doing it, and it's been fun, but it isn't necessarily like where I'm going. I really want to set a lot of my kind of scrambled efforts aside and really focus in next year on this writing effort. And that means a lot of things. If you don't see it in the player's guide, there is an illustrations section in the middle of Crown and Skull. And I only did a couple of the pieces. They're all other artists, and that was really fun to do. And again, that's just pushing this focus and not trying to do everything all the time. If I have Crown, Knave, and Shadow Dark, do you think they complement? They live together quite well. There's no such thing as too many random tables, but I would focus in on what works best for you as far as style. The Shadow Dark tables are really great. They're sort of, they have a variety that's quite exciting. So let's say you're in Caverns with Shadow Dark. You get a variety that's quite sweeping, that can even be a little crazy. Whereas with Crown and Skull, you're going to find that the tables, the hex rolls, if that's what you're alluding to, are much more sort of built to exactly where you are. So those are just slightly different styles. The ones in Shadow Dark are great, and Shadow Dark also just has a familiarity, obviously, because it's sort of D&D adjacent, that it's just going to work for some tables. But, with me, I like to combine and take influences from all over for my game, and that's my style. So if you're like that, if you're like me, you can rock on that way. Let's see. Will you publish a summary? No, I won't. That would be so much work. Let's see, Jerry. I remember you're saying in a YouTube video, focus on feelings of character emotion. Yeah. Well, when it comes to writing, you should be feeling it. So if you're feeling the emotions of your scenes, if you're excited about it, be the reader and treat the reader well. Give them what they're wanting. Show them the crazy. Build up and pay off. But man, there are so many great tips by writers so much more accomplished than me. I am but a learner, a beginner. So get out there and find great authors and listen to what they say. I'm but a Padawan. Okay, Battle Axes and Brimstone teeing me up. Yes, we will see. Not a custom dice set for Crown and Skull, but the rumors are true. The Runehammer official polyhedral dice set is on the brink of releasing. We are so close after so much work, and I've just been terribly picky making this set of dice because I know we all have about 1 trillion dice in our RPG box. I have a huge box over there of thousands of dice. So why would you want to do yet another set of dice? Well, I had to ask myself that question and give tough answers and live up to those answers. And it's been quite a process to get there. So you'll hear it on runehammer.online first when the Runehammer polyhedral dice set finally does drop. Thanks for the question, though, Battle Axe. Nice T-ball. John, will be a campaign or a one-shot DMing a game of ICRPG? No, I don't stream any games that I do. I actually think that the somewhat odd phenomenon of performant role playing has had a very strange effect on our hobby, and I'm not really into it. I believe that role playing is something done between friends. I think that filming and recording role playing has an artificial effect on how people respond, as far as like there's a lot of there's sort of unnatural laughing and performant voice doing, and to me it has a really deep effect on what really goes on at the table because it's a performance, and that ain't for me. So sorry about that. No shade to those doing it, but that's not for me. Can we get a sneak peek of the novels you're working on? Not really, no. As any writer could tell you, the worst thing you could ever do is do a sneak peek on a novel. Like, the first draft is quite disastrous, and also puts you into this mindset of like, well, now people have seen it, and so I can't do this and I can't do that. So you're just going to have to hold on. Hey, Luther Pendragon, what's up? And Kelsey, hi, nice to have you. Live stream just came across. Sure. Is Crown and Skull a general rule set? Well, Luther, download the free player's guide. Tell me what you think. House DM, yeah, I have to agree, man. I hope they're going to be a dice set for the ages. I really do. And that's the standpoint that we making them, is something that really would just be about use, not necessarily a sparkle. The Runehammer high tops. That's a great idea. Actually, I think I could do that on Printful. I think I could actually release shoes and sell exactly one pair, and it would be to you, my friend. Justin Barker, follow the link in the video description. Go to runehammer.online. Grab your free player's guide. Great Cthulhu again. Published a Worm Ring in Germany. No, I love to talk craft. Even more than craft, I like to talk hookups. I'm currently in that search for an agent, and it is a daunting search. So I'm sure the German market may not have a big overlap with my market. But yeah, I'm always looking for sort of an in. A lot of my technique is pretty mature. I'm pretty happy with my overall technique. But what I need now is that boost into that next level. I want to go beyond self-publishing into that next level. I really do. And I think I've got what it takes to do it. Got the habits, I got the output, and I think the quality is there. I'm feeling good about it. So really what I need is that next kind of level. Azimuth, no, haven't been doing a lot of that kind of stuff. As I said, really focusing in. Hey, Kelsey coming in with the tasty T-ball question. How do you feel fiction writing influenced Crown and Skull? Well, Crown and Skull, the book, includes several little short fiction pieces to kind of bring you into the unique kind of tone of the world. I know that everybody's table has its own vibe, but writing the fiction for Crown and Skull had a huge influence on just what Crown and Skull is. But to answer your question more widely, Kelsey, like, as you well know, my daily life is all about writing and trying to find tone in brevity. And tone in brevity is just my journey in life. As everybody kind of knows about me, my main focus is sort of a little bit fantasy, but more so cosmic horror. And cosmic horrors really is where I'm going. And Crown and Skull, you may not notice it quite at first, but really is a sort of a cosmic horror setting. I'm also working on a novel that is adjacent to Shadow Dark itself, and I see Shadow Dark as cosmic horror in a way. Kelsey's world kind of implies that there is an active darkness, and this active darkness is sort of a thing, or almost an organism of sorts, and that to me just reeks of cosmic horror. And that lifestyle, that daily sort of routine of writing that kind of material and cooking it down and down and down, because I like things to be short, that has led me into this style. And that's why the stories that are included in Crown and Skull are all 2 pages. I'd like to think that there's a lot of impact in those little 2-page stories for how tight they are. Also, my most recent blog post about read aloud text is kind of about this, about some skills and practices that you can use to train compaction. And I really like to the point writing, where it's compact and tight and fast. And that's kind of my goal and my style that I want to lean into as a writer. being scary, intense, emotional, and compact. And so, like, that compaction to me, I cut my teeth a little bit on writing role-playing games because they do need to be compact and brief, at least when they're written well, in my opinion, as Shadow Dark shows in spades. Like, I mean, the brevity in Shadow Dark is off the chart. But I want to bring that brevity and tightness to fiction writing, and I think that's going to have an interesting and market viable value. I hope that was an answer. That was big. That was a big answer. Which of the OG TSR modules do you recommend? Noxious Bones. Well, you know, everybody loves Borderlands. I keep Temple of Elemental Evil on my shelf. But, you know, I like Lost City. I don't know. You know, a lot of them have the Amber Tower even has some interest to it. I love Sunless Citadel, which is more than really a module. It's all really has value as research, I think. You know, even Temple of the Frog God and all this stuff, they're all great. But there's also a lot more to life than that. But I love the TSR era. I really almost prefer a lot of the modules found in Dungeon and Dragon magazines. I thought they were spectacular. I really like Broadsword. I know that it's 5th edition material, but I really like the adventures in Broadsword. I think they have a wide-ranging sort of span of topics and ideas. I think they're great. So finding ideas for modules, oh my gosh, they're everywhere. What question had you hoped to answer that hasn't yet been asked? Oh, that's like an open T-ball? I don't know. These are some really good ones that are coming up. That's a bit of a mind flip for me to think about that. How many reps per set of Cosmic Horror? Well, you want to do progressive overload with writing, right? So you don't want to necessarily overwork yourself. One great writing tip that I've heard is always quit just a little bit before you're done. You leave a little bit something undone and you're kind of dying to write it down because you know it's going to be good, but you just stop. You make yourself stop. And that way it brings you back the next day. It's kind of like the ritual of the puja in Hinduism. So it's just where you leave some of the best parts of a meal or a piece of food for the gods. You actually leave the last piece or the best piece for the gods. And this actually gets you excited for your next meal rather than eating every single morsel of what's in front of you. And I think that's a good tip with writing as well. Art-wise, self-taught, absolutely, I am. I did take a couple of art classes in college, and I was so freaking frustrated by them. I couldn't take all the talk and all the analysis and all the, you know, and I was an impatient young person. I think now, as a more of a grown-up, so to speak, I think I would do a lot better. Taking some kind of art class or creative writing classes would be really great. But yeah, I was so stubborn and bullheaded when I was younger. I am self-taught, if you can call it that. I don't know what my style is. It's kind of just madness. Never answer the question was asked. It said the question that you want to be asked. Yeah, exactly. Hey, good to hear, Sizik. All right, cool. There's a little bit of a lull in the questions. It's great. About almost 200 of you hanging out here on the stream. Good to have all of y'all. And you know what? If you're into Crown and Skull, if you're feeling this player's guide, if you're getting excited, you're like, oh man, this could be a bit of a game changer here. Maybe my table is going to want to get into this. If you want to support Runehammer, obviously there's Patreon and all that other stuff. There was that one stream, by the way, you guys are amazing. Just with the tips here on YouTube, you paid almost half of the startup costs to make the Runehammer dice set. So there's a lot of way to support me and Runehammer more generally. But I'll tell you right now, the biggest thing that can help me and the people that are really got my back as Runehammer, it's no longer just me, is to spread the word. Reach is really becoming our primary job. It's reaching new people and getting the word out there. I don't really do like a mainstream thing when it comes to YouTube and when it comes to role-playing in general. I don't really do kitschy, funny, little sort of tight edited videos like a lot of the brilliant YouTubers of today. And I don't do a lot of Instagram and other little, you know, sort of daily sort of content that I know is a powerful tool for growing the audience right now. I'm a little bit more brutal in my style, which is I really just believe in quality. And quality definitely sticks when it comes to this hobby. And, I think sales really speak to quality, but reaching people becomes your limit. when you really are a quality focused publisher. And so if you really want to help and you really want to support, spread the word of Runehammer and tell the peeps in your little role-playing circle if this is something that you're into. And that word of mouth technique, I'm a huge believer in it. We used to have a saying back in the video game industry that the only real marketing is word of mouth and everything else is force feeding. And that, I don't know if that's a little bit absolute. That may not be absolutely, completely true. It's a little harsh, but word of mouth is the most grassrootsy, like natural feeling type of marketing and reach to reach new people. I freaking love it. And all of you who've been following Runehammer for the last handful of years know that that's kind of how we do it around here. So it's cool. Yeah, spread the word and share that link. I mean, we're handing out a lot here with the sort of opening 70 pages of the book with some careful omissions. And notice that the entire table of contents is in the free player's guide. So you can see everything that's going to be in the book. Yeah, the player Fox. Yeah. So, or the player of X. So you use Twitter. But yeah, the book, the player's guide briefly mentions some heroes and villains, and I wanted to include those because those are from the player's point of view. These are like widely known characters in the world. To get things started, I know that everyone creates their own tabletop worlds, and some people say, well, I really just need rule systems. I don't necessarily need a world because I build it. But Crown and Skull unapologetically gives you a world, the most living, dynamic, rollable world I've ever even thought about creating, much less followed through on and finished. This thing is massive, and I really think a lot of people are going to have fun in it. Yeah, of course I've seen that documentary. It's good. I mean, I'm a huge believer in Blackmore, not just because it's old. There's a lot more to believe in than its age. The sort of smallness of the hobby at that time lended a tone to that creation, which is not definitive of its era. It is just one artifact in a very diverse era, the so-called old school, which, as I mentioned, it's kind of like saying, oh yeah, everyone in Philly is the same. No, that is a useless generalization. There's a lot of different people in Philly. And likewise, back in the so-called old school, there were so many different things happening. But I really did like the simplicity, the smallness of Blackmore, and the way that the edges of the map were free and were out there. And a lot of these things, if you look at the map of the North Holds, those hexes are pretty dang big, meaning it is a small space. It's about the size of a state rather than the size of a country, and so on. How does Crown and Skull differentiate from Into the Odd? Well, in many, many ways. And I think the player's guide speaks for itself. But it shares a couple of key little bits. I really think that foregoing the 2-hit roll and rolling damage against an enemy defense as the new 2-hit roll, I really think it has massive potential in our hobby to be truly a next generation thing. I think that the high to hit roll, low damage, weird null emotion effect, the limbic confusion of that is something that our hobby needs to solve. And that, from Into the Odd, from Cairn, in my opinion, solves it. And it's fantastic. So you have an enemy with defense 1, you're rolling damage right away. You're like, oh, I always hit? No. If you only roll 1 damage, it's effectively a miss, but with half the rolling time. And I'll tell you, when you get to your table, rather than considering it from the armchair point of view, it is great. It's so great. It's fabulous. Yo, Jay Slade, what up? How to deliver magic systems. Well, I would read the player's guide again to look at how magic and spellcasting is handled in Crown and Skull. It is my answer to basically try to say what could a sort of next generation or, really 21st century magic spellcasting system that doesn't just lean on so much, but kind of tries to break new ground. I mean, these are player created spells, player customized spells. And to me, that's kind of where we're headed, but with a very tight casting limitation. But again, I really would like the player's guide to speak for itself here. Give an example of why a player wouldn't want to act in phase 1. Someone is seeing deeper into the system. Acting in phase 1 for everybody in your group tends to be a freaking disaster. It's basically everyone sharing a turn, and there is no tactical availability for responding to enemy action, especially when it comes to rescue and restoration efforts. If your healer goes in phase 1, you are screwed for the rest of the round as far as restoration, rescue, and stuff like that. Going first is sort of the prize of the barbarian mind, I think. I actually, there's a great old saying in the corporate world, which is like, if you want to sound smart, just wait to talk last in a meeting. And it really works. If you just sit there and wait for everybody to say what they're going to say, and right at the end you say, now I would like to speak. The same is true in role-playing combat. Going later tends to be a very, very smart choice because you can respond to things that occur rather than aggressively try to get ahead of things that are going to occur. Now, if you want to wage an ambush and you think that these enemies can be wiped out right away, by all means, everyone go in phase 1 and so on. Remember, enemies are going to be going in more than one phase in many cases. So there's a lot of variety and a lot of vectors of strategy to process when it comes to phases. I want to play a 1950 Hercules-style fighter. You mean Reg Park? Isn't that his? Yeah. Okay, rock on. Yo, Neckin, what's up? Crown and Skull is roll under system. Yes, it is. Roll under D20. Damage versus defense mechanic. Yes. I'll tell you, people may think that I'm doing roll under to be weird or to be novel or strange, whatever. Yo, for 2 years at our table with the Dirty Jobs crew, we have been playing D20 roll under. We live and die this way. This is our life. Rolling under our stats so that we don't have target numbers on our table has been our way. We love it. It is just how we live. The natural one is our critical god. It may be a little crazy and new to some people, but I very strongly believe in this mechanism as being next level. Now, if you're rocking the target number, there are great strategic vectors to having a target number too. Probably not captured anywhere as good as it's captured in Shadow Dark. But if you want to be free of the target number and roll under your skills, in the case of Crown and Skull, you never have to ask the target number. It's always right there. And when it comes to rolling defense, it's even cooler. As attrition takes place and destroys or removes parts of your armor kit for usability, your defense stat goes down. You are having to roll under a lower number. It's a dynamic stat, and it's awesome. Don't even get me started on rolling low, because it's just how I live now. Kidney Kid, got my back. What's up? It's the first number. That's great. Mogilla's back. Email for a DM sending a literary agent. Oh, my goodness. Well, Mogilla, you want to email hankerin.furinail@gmail.com. hankerin.furinail@gmail.com. And you know what? There's so many easy ways to find me, but it's hankerin.ferinale@gmail.com. That's me. You can email me directly. To be honest, a ton of people just email me directly. It's a little crazy, honestly. People ask me about their games, about publishing, about releasing ICRPG material, about their family situations. It's crazy. I get so many fun, inspirational stories from people, and they just email it right to me. And those of you out there watching, you know who you are. I love you. Y'all are my people. And I'm all about those one-on-one connections. That's what, honestly, life is all about. So please, Mogilla Gorilla, hit me up. I wouldn't be giving the FBI any help finding me. The FBI is welcome to come and hang out anytime. I'm absolutely down with the FBI. They're fucking badasses. That's me, FBI. If you want to email me, totally. Come get a beer. So tasty. Oh, yeah. Kane's Kiln sticker on my water bottle. What's up? Anyway. That was mega dumb. It was almost as dumb as my intro, where I'm sitting here reading my favorite comic book time. Well, it's either this one or X-Force issue 8. But I digress. Hey, we got a lull. We got a lull in the action. 180 some crazy lumpy headed weirdos in here to learn all about Crown and Skull. Take a look at that free player's guide, baby, because you know you want a papaya, a nice sweet fruit. Kane, what's up? What have your players loved most about character creation? Oh my goodness. Our group did a hybrid of both creating completely bespoke custom characters from scratch using the hero point system and rolling prompts and just embracing what happened. And I think what they love is the mixture. I think it's their favorite thing so far, the mixture of those two. It gave them a group that I don't think they would have come up with otherwise. And as they are getting into it, we had session 3 on Monday night. They're going into a style of campaign, honestly, that is nothing like what we've done before. And I think that's what they love the most. Also, I'm not doing any prep for this campaign. So I'm walking into each session using hex rolls and using rolls to determine how everything's unfolding and a little bit of GM magic, as we all have to do. But it's giving rise to a game that is unlike anything we've done. And I think that's their favorite thing. And I think Crown and Skull really shines in this area. In the little promo video that I did, it describes Crown and Skull as a vast and perilous world engine. And world engine really is the best descriptor for this book. If a GM believes in it and trusts these dice rolls, it just unfolds into new and surprising vistas that aren't just necessarily random encounters. They are an in-theme, in-location construction of events and play, and I'm really proud of it. I think it works really well, and I think that's their favorite thing. But thanks for the awesome question. Addison Rice. Now that's a good name. Addison Rice. I would like to speak to you regarding matters of shipments of certain armaments to the rebels of the Congo, or something like that. Anyway, how fast is Crown and Skull compared to ICRPG or Shadow Dark? Well, a lot of that depends on Game Master, right? A lot of that depends on familiarity and all that stuff. So, but I would just say in brief, it's comparable. All these systems can become more complex and slow, which can be desirable at the table, but I think they're all comparable. I think, yeah, it really, really does depend on GM and on familiarity. So I'm not sure it's fair to throw down a glove on that question. That is a fun one, though. I think probably ICRPG would be the fastest of those three, given the same GM. House is up here. So can we expect a CNS novel series equivalent to the Odyssey? Well, yes, you can. I absolutely want to do a Crown and Skull novel, but it's going to be the sort of the scarier part, and not necessarily like a fantasy epic. I'm really trying to hone my craft away from heroic fantasy to cosmic horror. If I wanted one sort of cheeseball, overgeneralized genre under my name, under Brandish Gilhelm as a writer, it would be cosmic horror. And I want to work toward that with the advice of a lot of brilliant people who are helping with me with my sort of writing career right now, including my man Quirkville. So props out to you, dude. Thank you for everything so far. Let's see, down to Tater here. How would you sell someone on phases instead of, well, first of all, traditional initiative to me is a train wreck. It's a huge mess. People get skipped. It eats a ton of time. I can't stand it. Table order is a good one, but you know what? It really has one glaring weakness, which is the GM just has the one turn. GM, GM, and it tends to give the whole party a turn, and it also gives a fixed moment when monsters act. Phases give monsters a vast new amount of speed and variation possibilities that I think cracks a lot of the problems of why monsters are never challenging. Phases is the variety explosion that we need, and traditional initiative to me has been dead for decades. It's always been a mess. I don't know why anybody does it, but phases I do think are better than going in the round, which I've done almost my entire D&D life. Hey, Chutney's moving back and forth. I think has it been an hour? It's almost been an hour. We're going to wrap it up pretty soon because he's got to use the bathroom. But yeah, that's why phases are so great. Do you worry about players having blinders on and only focusing on their skills and not the game world? No. As a GM, that's not a thing that not worried about that at all. Calvin, just go on runehammer.online. If I understood it right, going in phase 1 still seems ideal. Absolutely not. Can going late to adjust it? I would invite you to play some test scenarios before you make a call on this particular subject. I've seen actually my people regretting if more than one person goes in phase 1. They really do desire a tactical spread, and the spread based on the difficulty or on the dynamics of what they're facing or on a specific type of plan that they are trying to execute. I really leave that one to the table. And from the armchair, maybe phase 1 seems like the one that's the valuable one, but in play, I would strongly recommend you give the table some time before you make this call. Phases have so much going on in them. Yes, Crown and Skull is more crunchy than ICRPG. Oh, and hey, the music that you see on the little promo video, thank you so much to Seth Hutchinson, the front man for Weight Shift. My man down in Asheville, North Carolina. He has made he made me 3 awesome little tracks for Crown and Skull to use in various trailers and teasers that you're going to see coming out in the coming month. So thank you, Seth. You are the man. Now, come on now with them badass, grungy ass riffs. He is the man. I do most of the art for Weight Shift too. So if you want to check out a cool band, check out Weight Shift. Were there design decisions that you had to cut from Crown and Skull? There's about 100 zillion design decisions that had to be cut. This game has gone through such a brutal crucible at the table. My players, so much goes out, so much gratitude goes to my players for their patience as these rules came alive and died and were resurrected and died and changed again and again, and their patience and dedication as we work through all this stuff. Where can I try out Crown and Skull? Yelled, jumped over on runehammer.online, grabbed the free player's guide, and that is the beginning. Also, please jump on the Discord. It's $1 a month to be a Patreon. I mean, it's $1 for an entire month, and then you can participate in our frankly bonzo Discord discussion, which is sort of endless, daily, sort of lively group. I also sort of make it a point as an honor to my patrons to be on Discord as much as I possibly can. So always a good time over there. And with that, before any more questions come down the line, here, let's make a Dorky Orc the last one. Will you treat yourself to a citywide? I absolutely will. Dorky Orc, thank you so much. That is the setup I needed to get out of here. That was a super fun hour, you guys, and there is just really no way to overstate my excitement about Crown and Skull. Now, I know this is just the very first little tidbit, and that we have the pre-sale coming up. That's the next thing you're really going to hear from me. But again, if you want to learn more, if you want to kind of dive into this sort of early group, the early adopters of Crown and Skull, the tip of the spear, as they say, jump on Discord. Otherwise, I will see you guys right back here for the Dirty Jobs Session 3 recap. That's the next video you're going to be seeing here on YouTube. Y'all are dope, man. Thanks for tuning in. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. And remember, get out there in the world. Do one good thing for one person. Just something nice, you know. Give them a little huggy hug. You know what I'm saying? Make them a burger for lunch. You know what I mean? How about some tuna fish? Whatever. Do one nice thing for one person out there. And if every single one of us does it, it's going to be a better world. All right, you guys? Keep it real. Don't steal, and you're always going to get a good deal. All right? Thank you guys for tuning in. Remember, never be shy to just hit me up directly, and I'll see you on that internet. You right? I'm out. This dog's got to go to the bathroom. Peace. Bow now, 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 bow, down out.